Some people climb mountains, some people swim across oceans. I decided to take on a different kind of challenge, a modern survival test, if you will. I wanted to see if I could stream my favorite video game from the middle of nowhere. The idea hit me while I was looking at a map. There was this huge, empty space, just sand, sun, and silence. Most people see that and think, danger. I saw it and thought, what a brilliant place for a gaming setup. It was the ultimate test of man versus wild, but with a twist. Man versus wild versus a stable internet connection. I knew it would be tough, but honestly, the thought of it was just too exciting to ignore. This wasn't just about playing a game, it was about pushing boundaries. It was about proving that adventure can be found anywhere, even in the digital world. I've eaten bugs to survive. I've slept inside a camel carcass for warmth. So setting up a gaming PC in the desert heat felt like the next logical step. It combined my love for the untamed wilderness with the thrill of technology. My goal was simple, to connect with my online community from one of the most disconnected places on Earth. I wanted to share the raw beauty of the desert with them, while also trying to get a victory royale. It was a crazy idea, and that's precisely why I had to do it. My friends thought I was mad. Bear, they said, you'll get sand in everything. The heat will destroy your computer. They had good points, of course. The desert is an unforgiving place. It doesn't care about your expensive graphics card or your perfectly calibrated mouse. It wants to break things. But that's the point of any real adventure, isn't it? You face the challenges head on. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I packed my gear with a smile, ready to face the sun, the sand, and the ultimate boss battle against Mother Nature herself. The desert was waiting, and I was ready to answer its call. So, with a plan that was half genius and half insanity, I set off. My mission was clear. I would venture deep into the sandy wilderness, far from any city lights or cell towers. I would build a temporary digital oasis among the dunes. This journey was about more than just streaming. It was a statement. It was about showing that adventure isn't confined to dusty old maps and compasses. In our modern world, adventure can also mean finding a signal in the middle of nowhere, with a solar panel, a laptop, and a whole lot of determination. The game was about to begin, both on my screen and in the real world around me. Getting my gear into the heart of the desert was the first challenge. My 4x4 vehicle could only take me so far. The final stretch was on foot, carrying everything on my back. I had my gaming laptop, a portable solar generator, a satellite internet dish, and a whole lot of cables. It felt like I was a modern-day explorer, but instead of carrying maps and sextants, I was carrying motherboards and power banks. Finding the perfect spot was crucial. I needed a flat area to set up my table and chair, but also a spot with some natural shade from a rock formation to protect my gear from the relentless sun. The setup itself was a delicate operation. First, I deployed the solar panels. They were my lifeline, my one source of power in this vast emptiness. I angled them perfectly to catch the morning sun, watching as the battery on my generator slowly began to charge. Then came the satellite dish. This was the most important piece of the puzzle. Without it, I was just a bloke with a laptop in the desert. I had to align it perfectly with a satellite orbiting thousands of miles above the Earth. It took a lot of patience, slowly adjusting it by tiny degrees until the little green light finally blinked, signaling a connection. I had internet. It was a magical moment. With power and internet sorted, it was time to build my gaming station. I unfolded my small camping table and chair, which looked tiny and out of place against the massive dunes. I carefully placed my laptop on the table, shielding it from the wind with a small custom-made cover. I plugged everything in: the laptop, the mouse, the microphone, and my webcam. Seeing the familiar glow of my desktop screen light up against the backdrop of the endless sand was a surreal experience. It was a tiny island of technology in a vast ocean of nature. My digital campfire was lit, and I was almost ready to begin the stream. Finally, I did a full systems check. Power levels, stable, internet speed, surprisingly decent all things considered, microphone audio, clear with just a hint of desert wind in the background. I even set up a small camera to show my viewers the incredible landscape around me. I wanted them to see what I was seeing, to feel the scale of it all. My humble setup was complete. It was a testament to human ingenuity and a slightly crazy idea. I had built a bridge between two different worlds: the wild, unpredictable desert and the structured digital realm of online gaming. Now, all that was left to do was press go live. The stream began, and my viewers were amazed. The The chat was flooded with questions. Are you really in a desert? How do you have internet? But things got difficult fast. The heat was my first enemy. My laptop's cooling fans were working overtime, sounding like tiny jet engines. I had to create a makeshift sunshade using my jacket and some spare poles just to keep the machine from overheating. Sweat was dripping from my brow onto the keyboard. I had to wipe my hands constantly just to keep a good grip on my mouse. It was a constant battle to keep both myself and my equipment cool enough to function. Then came the sand. A sudden gust of wind would blow fine grains of sand everywhere. It got into my keyboard, making the keys feel gritty and unresponsive. I spent half my time between matches carefully blowing the sand out with a can of compressed air. At one point, a curious desert lizard climbed onto my table to inspect my mouse. He just sat there watching the cursor move around the screen. My audience loved it. They named him Larry the Lizard, and he became the unofficial mascot of the stream. It was a funny moment that reminded me I was not alone out there. Of course, the internet was not always my friend. A few times, my connection would suddenly drop, causing a massive lag spike right in the middle of an intense fight in the game. It was incredibly frustrating to freeze up when you're about to win. My character would just stand there, helpless, while my screen showed a reconnecting message. I had to apologize to my viewers and explain that even satellite internet has its limits in the wild. These technical issues were a constant reminder of how fragile my connection to the online world truly was out here in the middle of nowhere. But for every problem, there was a moment of pure magic. During a quiet moment in the game, a coyote howled in the distance, and the sound was picked up by my microphone. My viewers were captivated. They felt like they were right there with me. I even had to pause the game once because a beautiful desert sunset was happening behind me. I turned the camera around so everyone could watch the sky turn brilliant shades of orange, pink, and purple. These were the moments that made all the sweat, sand, and lag worth it. It was a shared adventure, a unique blend of gaming and nature. Playing a game in the desert felt completely different. Usually, when I game, I'm in a dark room, completely focused on the screen. But out there, the game was only part of the experience. I was surrounded by the immense silence and beauty of the wilderness. The bright colors of the game on my screen contrasted sharply with the golden sand and blue sky around me. It was like having two worlds open to me at once. I could hear the wind rustling past my tent and the distant calls of wildlife, which became the real-world soundtrack to my digital adventure. It made the game feel more epic, more significant. There was a strange sense of peace that came with it. I wasn't just trying to get a high score. I was part of a much larger picture. Looking up from my screen, I would see the vast, empty landscape stretching out to the horizon. It was humbling. It made my in-game problems seem so small. Losing a match didn't feel as bad when I could look up and see a sky full of stars that you could never see from the city. This experience connected my passion for gaming with my love for the natural world in a way I never expected. The desert didn't distract me. It enhanced the entire experience. What did I learn from this crazy experiment? I learned that pushing your limits is always rewarding, even if it's in a strange way. I learned that technology and nature don't have to be enemies. They can coexist and even make each other better. Setting up that stream was a survival challenge unlike any other. It required planning, problem solving, and a lot of patience. It proved that with a little creativity, you can find adventure in the most unexpected places. You don't always have to climb the highest peak. Sometimes, the biggest challenge is just getting a good Wi-Fi signal. In the end, this desert gaming adventure changed my perspective. It reminded me that the world is full of amazing possibilities if you're willing to think outside the box. It wasn't about the number of viewers I had or the number of games I won. It was about the experience itself, the fusion of solitude and connection, of technology and wilderness. It taught me that adventure is a mindset. Whether you are exploring a jungle or a digital world, the goal is the same: to explore, to learn, and to come back with a great story to tell. And this was definitely one for the books.